Now, I was beating my meat the other day and I was thinking about how I really want to get married. Like, no joke, marriage is something that I've always wanted since I was a kid growing up, and like having that happily ever after. But one thing I will say is that it seems less likely the more the years go on, because the amount of stories I've told, honestly, it's gotten to the point where I feel like no woman would end up being interested in me. But one thing I will say is that, is marriage counseling actually useful? Because my experience of a marriage counselor was not good at all. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy but also super embarrassing story. Now, this story all takes place back in my high school years, and this was actually my grade 12 year. It was my final year of grade 12, and I was getting ready to graduate and move on with my life to better things. At least so I thought. But I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and me and my girlfriend were really close. If anything, we were really like one of like the iconic couples in my grade 12 year that many people looked at and actually looked up on. I don't know why, to be honest. Like, we weren't doing anything special other than hanging out at lunchtime together, but apparently it was like a really big deal that we were a couple, and many people looked up to us as the power couple in our high school. But I think the funniest part was that a lot of people got to see the outside of things, but not the true inside between our relationship. Now, I know it's not good to expose like in-depth, like online, like how your relationships are and stuff like that. Like, for many people out there that have like those family channels or watch those family channels with like people like showing their insides of the relationship in every argument, it's not a good idea. My opinion, if I ever had a girlfriend, you guys would not know about it. I'm gonna be brutally honest. You guys definitely would not know until like I got married. Then maybe I'll do like a live stream wedding on my Twitch page and just, you know, do this big thing. Yeah, it all sounds crazy, don't get me wrong, but still, going on with the story. I remember one day I was sitting in a cafe and I was just minding my own business doing my math homework. I decided to try a new thing where I would take my homework outside because apparently it's healthier for the brain instead of doing it actually at home, even though it's called homework. But I remember as I was in this cafe, I was just doing my thing, and randomly out of nowhere, my girlfriend walks in. She walks into the cafe and she looks at me and starts yelling at me in front of everyone. No joke, she looks at me and she's like, "Bubba, what are you doing here? We're supposed to have dinner with my parents. Like, what is wrong with you?" Yeah, no, I totally forgot. Honestly, like, is it possible to reschedule? I really got to get this math homework done. No, Bubba, like, we've been together for over like 6 months and you've been avoiding my parents for like the last 3. Like, seriously, like, it's time to meet them for once. Yeah, eventually I could. It's just, you know, today's just not the day. Okay, well, you totally just ditched out on me and my parents. You need to think about your life, or you're gonna end up single for your grad. After she says that, she ends up getting up and walking away, and I felt super embarrassed because a lot of people were looking at me, totally confused on what in the world was going on. So after this happens, I consider myself leaving the cafe because I'm like, there's no way after everyone staring at me, I'm gonna stay here any longer. So I end up packing my laptop, I pack my things, and then right as I'm about to leave through the door, a lady walks up to me. Now, this lady, she looked like she was like in her mid-30s, and she actually looked pretty attractive. She had blonde hair, she was wearing like a short skirt, and like she was wearing like one of those like dress like tight shirts. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but she had a really nice outfit on. And I remember she looks over at me and she says, "Hey, is everything all right?" Yeah, no, everything's good. Just girlfriend stuff. "Oh, so she's not your wife?" "What? Oh, no. She's just, you know, someone I'm seeing." "Oh, well, why haven't you met her parents yet?" At that moment, I realized she heard through the whole conversation, and I'm like, it's a lot more than you think. Just don't worry about it," is what I tell this lady. But then she wasn't taking no for an answer. She ends up looking at me and she's like, "Here, have my card. I'm a marriage counselor. And like, I work with like all types of couples, to be honest. So if you guys ever feel like talking and, you know, having another person in the room to help you guys through your problems, just let me know." And me, I kind of like took the card, and when I walked away, I kind of started laughing because I don't know, there's something about me that just doesn't believe in therapy or counseling of any sort. Like, I think therapy and counseling is just a way to like, you know, point something out that's right under a person's nose. Like, for example, if you can't reach the top of the fridge, the most common thing to do would be either to climb up the counter or to just grab a stepping stool. But many people just don't understand like the concept of just being able to do that and having that power to do that in the first place. So they end up just putting themselves stuck. And well, that is the point of a counselor, to make yourself unstuck by just talking through things that are literally right under your nose. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but that's the way I feel about it over the years of dealing with therapists and counselors. But I remember as I got home that day, I ended up sitting down and I hopped on my Xbox and I started playing games with all the guys and stuff. And I remember one of the guys, he ended up hopping on late, and he ended up hopping on, joining in the call saying, "Hey guys, sorry I'm late, I had therapy." And at that moment, it kind of just reminded me about how that woman came up to me, and I ended up asking him questions about how therapy really worked and if it actually worked for him. For him specifically, apparently it did work really well, which, to be fair, I don't know how, but in my mind, I don't know, it just felt weird. So I ended up asking him, "Hey, so like, what do you think of marriage counseling?" "Marriage counseling? Bro, that's kind of crazy. I don't know. Marriage counseling's not bad. It's just like really awkward though. But I heard it does help. My parents take marriage counseling sometimes." When I heard that, I honestly didn't know what to think. Like, to be fair, taking therapy and, you know, doing counseling is nothing to be really ashamed of. And me, I guess I was always like ashamed of being able to, you know, go through counseling. I don't know. I ended up like kind of deciding why not. Now, the hardest part about me deciding to do that though was bringing it up to my girlfriend. boyfriend. And trust me, things did not go smoothly when I did. Because the next day at school, I was at my locker and my girlfriend walked up to me, still upset about the day when I didn't go to meet her parents. And when she walked up to me and she said, so I was planning on like going on dinner with you tonight, but honestly, I think I have other plans. Kind of in a way, I guess, mocking me for ditching out on her plans with her parents. And that's when I said to her, hey, so like, what do you think of therapy? She ends up like having a blank face and looking at me and she's like, what about it? Well, I don't know, like maybe it would be cool if me and you took, you know, some marriage counseling. Oh, wait, really? Yeah, like I don't see why not. I mean, yeah, 100%. I'm really down. At this moment, I was in shock because I was like, wait, what? Like you want to do marriage counseling? Like you're 100% cool with this. But her reasoning for it was kind of, I guess it made sense in a way, because she ends up saying to me, yeah, like I used to always take like therapy back then when I was younger. And honestly, like I came through a lot of problems and just therapy helped me out a lot. Okay, then yeah, let's do it. And at that moment, she ends up walking away and I pull out my phone and I call the marriage counselor up. I ended up calling her on the card she gave me and it took me directly to a receptionist that led me to her. And when I got to go on the phone with her, I ended up saying to her, hey, I don't know if you remember, I'm the guy from the cafe the other day. Oh, hi. Yeah, I never caught your name. What was it? Oh, my name is Baba. I was just curious. Me and my girlfriend are down to do some marriage counseling and yeah, we would love to like, you know, try it out. Awesome. Okay, can I book you in for tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow works. It should. Okay, sweet. I'll see you guys at my office tomorrow at, let's say, after school. So that would be around 4:45 for you guys. Yeah, 4:45 sounds great. Okay, awesome. See you tomorrow, Baba. So at this moment, I just booked my first marriage counseling appointment and I'm kind of like in shock because I never expected me to actually like book an appointment. But honestly, like it never hurts to try new things. At least that's what I thought growing up throughout my high school years. And when the next day finally came and I ended up planning everything with my girlfriend to go there, I ended up picking her up in my car and we drove down to the marriage counseling office. I remember when I got there, I ended up seeing the marriage counselor and I gave her a firm handshake, but she wanted a hug. So she ends up hugging me and my girlfriend starts like kind of like getting weirded out. But then afterwards, when my marriage counselor ends up going up to my girlfriend, she ends up just shaking her hand really firmly. And it was like one of the most awkward handshakes ever. I guess my marriage counselor at the time thought she was the problem. I mean, to be fair, she was, but you know, it's not the point. Going on, we ended up sitting on the couch together and we started talking through our problems. Basically, she made me introduce what I want out of the relationship, what she wants out of the relationship. And well, one thing led to another. We ended up getting to the topic of parents. Now, I remember as we were sitting on the couch, my girlfriend ends up looking at the marriage counselor and she says, I don't understand like why Bubba won't meet my parents. Like my parents aren't gonna hurt him. They want to meet him. Like we've been dating for over 6 months now. And like he refuses just to meet my parents. And we've been planning this for like 3 months. Yeah, I just don't want to meet her parents yet. I'm just not ready. What? Are you serious? How are you not ready? We've been dating for such a long time and we're gonna graduate soon. Like you gotta propose eventually. And at that moment, when she brought up the word propose, I started to kind of freak out. I don't know. You don't really think about marrying someone until like a year or two in the relationship. But like 6 months in, like I'm not gonna lie, like it seemed like more of an arranged marriage type that she wants compared to me. But when she said propose, I remember my counselor also was kind of like, wait a second, what? Because she also like started getting weirded out and she looked at me and I'm like, yeah, like I don't know if like I really want to do that. And that's when my marriage counselor ends up standing up and saying, okay, your girlfriend can leave the room for a bit. Baba, I want to talk to you about some things. Okay. So my girlfriend ends up getting up and leaving really upsetly. And she even said like right before she went through the door, talk some sense into that man. And she ends up walking out the door. And my marriage counselor ends up sitting down right next to me. And she looks at me and says, so Baba, be honest with me. Do you think your relationship with her will last? I mean, I hope so. I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know if I kind of missed the single life. Well, you've been away from the single life for like over 6 months now. So how do you know if you want to get back into it? I don't know. I don't really want to like cheat on her or anything, but maybe I should just break up with her. Honestly, if you feel like that's the right thing to do and you're having doubts, most likely 80% of relationships that have doubts built into them won't last. But I'm sure I can help you convince you to break up with her another way. And at that moment, I looked at her and I'm like, wait, are you trying to convince me to break up with her? Like, isn't that like kind of the opposite of like marriage counseling? Like, aren't you supposed to help us stay together? I don't know. It felt really weird, but then she ended up sitting closer and closer to me on the couch. And it got to the point where she put her hand on my thigh and she said, maybe you should try seeing if you prefer another woman. And yeah, she ends up leaning in and we start making out on that couch. And well, one thing led to another. We actually ended up doing the devil's tango. It was kind of crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, it was actually like super surprising that that happened. But then right after, like I want to say like 30 minutes go by, my girlfriend, or I should say my ex-girlfriend, ends up walking back into the room and she sees that like my counselor's like putting on her clothes again. And she gets really upset and she's like, what kind of marriage counseling is this? Like, Bubba, what did you just do? I can explain. I want to end things, I said with a stutter really awkwardly. And yeah, me and her ended up breaking up. I never ended up meeting her parents. Thank God I didn't, by the way. And this marriage counselor, funny enough, after 2 more sessions with her, or I guess I should say Devil's Tango. She ended up getting fired because apparently her receptionist found out. Yeah, let's just say all good things must come to an end. But at the same time, would you guys ever take marriage counseling? Like, just be honest with me.